And he doesn't use gentle language here. Jesus is causing us to think seriously about this topic. It would be better for you to chop off your hands and to chop off your feet or to rip your eyes out of your face than to give in to the temptations to sin. The guilt of one individual sin is more evil than all of the suffering in all of the world for all of time. For the guilt of sin brings judgment and condemnation, while suffering brings the mercies and the sympathy of the God of all comfort. So if you look to Christ as our example in this, the difference between suffering physically or suffering under the weight of sin, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. Through the incomparable physical suffering of his torture, leading up to and then culminating in his crucifixion, Christ remained silent. But on the cross, when he was made the object of God's wrath, is when he finally cried out. Isaiah 53:10 says that it was the Lord's will to crush him and to cause him to suffer, to make him an offering for sin. And it was then when Christ bore the weight of the guilt of the sin of his people for the first time, sensing what his Father's displeasure feels like, that Christ cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Our sin, like a great millstone, was tied around Christ's neck, and he was plunged headfirst into the sea of God's wrath against sin. He was not spared so that we could be. And we see that the greatest suffering that Christ experienced was his Father's divine displeasure, which should have been directed toward us. We should fear nothing except that which displeases the Lord. The great lie that has darkened the world is that there's no real standard of morality and that there's no accountability in the end. And here Jesus tells us that there is.